Sisters discover the awful truth about their mother 43 years after being abandoned at birth. We all know that becoming a parent for the first time isn't easy at all, with all the responsibilities. But all parents learn to find a way living with a certain condition, knowing that they are no longer alone. But no matter how things get worse, parents are tough. They do everything for their children. Unlike one mother, she abandoned her newborn daughter and she didn't appear again. But the daughter, Donna Massey Wysong, didn't know till she became a teenager it wasn't easy at all, yet she started looking for the whole chain of truth that took 4 decades to completely emerge. Donna was just a few months old in the winter of 1973 when her mother wrapped her in an old rag and left her to fend for herself on the side of the road one evening in Norfolk, Virginia. Thankfully, a pedestrian tripped over the bundle and found the baby. They immediately grabbed her in their arms and rushed her to the nearest hospital. And suddenly, the whole country knew about the adorable blue-eyed little baby from the news that they nicknamed Baby Jane Doe. People loved this beautiful, innocent little creature, but they didn't know whose daughter she was and how her parents could leave her at the very few months of age. A woman called Eileen Massey was one of the people who were anxiously watching Donna's story unfold on the news. When she first saw Donna, she knew right away that she wanted to adopt her. It took a few months of contacting social services. She wanted to make a warm home for this little girl. But truth can never stay hidden. Donna became a teenager, and she started to socialize more. She started to know her story, but it was unbelievable to her. So she was visiting the local library to know more about her first months. She read a lot of articles that were written about her without telling her mother Eileen, because she was the one who saved her childhood. She didn't even think about leaving her to go find her biological mother. It wasn't until she was 43 years old that Donna's full story was revealed. A genealogical investigator called Angela Trammell had watched a special news segment on Donna, and she was fascinated by what the woman had gone through. So she reached out to Donna and volunteered to look into her family history for her. In November of 2016, Donna submitted a DNA test to help Angela begin the search. And because Angela Trammell is a very specialist geological investigator, she could easily determine Donna's origins. She found that Donna has an Irish heritage, and this is something that can help her find a lot of her relatives. Donna's connection to Ireland allowed Angela to trace her distant relatives. She was able to locate one of Donna's aunts. Then, Angela called Donna one St. Patrick's Day with some wonderful news. Donna was so curious to know what news Angela would bring. Once they met, Angela told her that she has a full-blooded biological sister, and she's just 11 months younger than her. Donna couldn't believe it. She never had the idea of having a sibling. She was truly shocked because it wasn't everything. The sister had also been abandoned by their mother when she was just an infant. Donna was heartbroken that her mother had also put her sister through such a terrible childhood life. But she was thankful that at least she'd ended up safe and she survived the hard circumstances. Their mother left them by the same way. Vanessa, Donna's sister, was found 20 miles away from where Donna was found in February 1973. The salesman who found her thought it's a kitten making noises, but once he opened the box, he found that it's a little beautiful girl. Even Vanessa was lucky for having a loving adoptive parent. They loved her and supported her through all that time, and she knew at a certain age her story. So one Christmas night, the family gave Vanessa a DNA test kit to help her feed her curiosity about knowing more about her origins. The website Ancestry.com also was helpful in her research. Both sisters knew and believed that they have a full-blooded biological sister, but neither one knew what to do to contact their sister. Fortunately, an ABC News program, 7 on Your Side, decided to connect the two sisters for having the same dramatic story. The sisters decided to speak on the phone. Both were nervous, but they knew that time had come for them to rekindle a relationship that had been lost for over 4 decades. As soon as they started talking to each other, their sisterly bond couldn't have been more clear. They began to speak on a daily basis, sometimes for hours at a time. Then, 2 weeks later, they decided to meet. Then, finally, they met, and it was the warmest sisters meeting. They talked about their situation, and they had an idea about trying to reach out to their biological mother, hoping they could finally establish a familial relationship with her. But unfortunately, their mother refused to see them or talk with them. She even threatened them to go to the police if they contacted her. The sisters felt more hurt. Both women were upset because of their mother's rejection, but their moods changed a few days later when Angela called Donna and told her she had located a third sibling. The girls had a biological brother. But the mother kept him. At least one of them didn't suffer, but it seems that the brother never knew that Vanessa and Donna existed. In April 2017, all three had a sibling emotional meeting along with an aunt that they had become close with. The sisters now plan to relocate their families to the very place where their mother abandoned them, in Virginia Beach. According to 7 on Your Side, Vanessa said to Donna, "I've been 43 years without you, and I'm not going to lose one more day." Honestly, and despite what the mother did, this story is one of the most wonderful family stories. There's nothing stronger than a reunited siblings bond.